Good afternoon. Welcome to one more webinar from Telerik India. So today's topic is going to be faster MVC apps with Telerik UI for ASP.NET MVC. My name is Lohit GN. So a brief intro about myself. As I said, my name is Lohit GN. I work as a Telerik evangelist, technical evangelist for Telerik in India. I'm also a Microsoft MVP in the area of ASP.NET IIS. I'm part of a local user group called Bangalore.NET User Group, one of the biggest and largest .NET user groups in India. I'm also an author. I am available on Twitter. This is my official email ID, lohit.nagraj@telerik.com. Couple of links that you should be aware of. www.telerik.com, that's our global corporate site. TelerikHelper.net is a small blog where myself and my colleagues, we keep writing about Telerik technologies, how to work with Telerik technologies and generic topics. The last one is my personal blog where I mostly write ASP.NET and related stuff. If you want to know more about me, that's my short URL, about.me/KSHYAPA, so you can get to know all the other things. So let's get started with today's agenda. So I don't have any agenda slides or anything because we're going to be talking about only one thing, and that's the UI for ASP.NET MVC. As you can see, the UI for ASP.NET MVC is the product line from Telerik. We call it as UI for ASP.NET MVC, or we also kindly sometimes we term it as MVC suite for us. So this is basically powered by our HTML5 and Kendo UI. Kendo UI is the the flagship product that we released a couple of years back, and then the UI for ASP.NET MVC is based on Kendo UI, and you get a HTML5 rich, responsive applications. With UI for ASP.NET MVC, we give you MVC wrappers. That's what we're going to be looking at today. The power of HTML5, the power of Kendo UI, but on the server side with HTML helpers that you have been very used to with the vanilla MVC stuff, for example, HTML.textbox for, HTML.label for. So similarly, we're going to give a lot of controls out of the box for you to work in MVC. So that's what we're going to be looking at in next 1 hour or so. I'm going to be building something along with you and then kind of show it how it's done step by step. Some of the features of ASP.NET MVC is, it's a complete ASP.NET MVC toolkit, meaning we have around 70 plus controls out of the box when you use our suite. If you download UI for ASP.NET MVC, you get 70 plus controls for your MVC, MVC application. So that's what we mean by complete ASP.NET MVC toolkit. Plus, it's a HTML5 rendering powered by Kendo UI. As you can see here, you are on your server side, meaning you are creating a server side page, which is ASP.NET MVC. And on the server side, what you do is you use what we call as server wrappers. Basically, the word wrapper is very analogous to HTML helper. Basically on the server side, what you do is you use our wrappers and then build up your page or add your controls from our particular control suite. And when it reaches the client side, you're gonna get HTML5 rendering, or the code that's spit out from the server side by these wrappers are all HTML5 compliant. So it runs on any browser. We support IE7 to IE7 and onwards, Chrome, Firefox. So whenever there is an HTML5 browser, it is easier. It's going to work on that. Even if there is, for example, on IE7 also, we are able to get our controls rendered. And they work and behave the same as on an HTML5 browser or on a non-HTML5 browser. That is because we have the capability to sniff the browser. If the browser is not HTML5, we do some sort of polyfilling, but at the end of the day, you as a developer, all you have to do is use the wrapper, set the settings that you need to set on the control, and then that's it. So it gets rendered, and rest assured, IE7 and onwards, Chrome, Firefox, ESR, we're going to behave the same. The controls are going to look the same, behave the same. As I said, it's a seamless UX across browser. As you can see, Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Opera, Safari, so you name it. So we support, when it comes to versions, IE 7 and above is what we support. We have dropped the IE 6 support recently for our couple of core products like ASP.NET Ajax will not support IE 6. Rather, it's going to be IE 7 and above. Similarly, here the UI for ASP.NET MVC is based on Kendo UI, and then Kendo UI supports IE 7 and above. So that's why we say it's a seamless UX across the browsers. Not only that, if you use our control suite, that is UI for ASP.NET MVC, you get the mobile support and responsiveness out of the box. Meaning, if you see there, it's the same page. What you see on the background, it's been seen in an iPad, but when the same screen is seen on an iPhone, maybe, or in a phone, the controls, they automatically adapt themselves to the available screen format, and they are responsive. So the name, the date time picker that you see there, which is set to maybe 200px, here it becomes 100% on the phone. So they are responsive out of the box. You do not have to do anything special to make them responsive. Plus they are already mobile ready, meaning they understand the touch and then convert the touch into the clicks, because on a normal desktop browser it's all mouse clicks that you do. Of course, now many of the laptops or the ultrabooks or the notebooks, they're all giving you the touch based interfaces for the browsers, or the whole monitor is a touch based. So now I can just open up a web page and then use my hand to touch the different portions of the screen, button, all those things. So our controls are are already mobile ready. This is another interesting thing. We have a close to 15, close to 10 themes out of the box. As you can see here, it's we have just showcased a simple calendar, but when the calendar, when you use different themes, the same calendar looks differently. There is a moonlight in the background. On the front you have the default, and there is a blue opal, there is a black. So you name it. So there are different themes available out of the box. You don't like it, we have a theme builder out of the. We provide a theme builder control. It's available on our website. All you need to do is just come in and say like, okay, for this control, the background, I want it to be like this. So you can visually get the cue as to how the control looks like. Once you're done with your changes, what you can do is just download the CSS. It readily generates a CSS. So just download it, add it to your project, and then there you go. You have your own custom theme. We give you 7 themes out of the box, 7+ themes out of the box. You don't like it, of course, you can go and then make your own theme. Plus, it's a simple server-side data binding and CRUD that you can do. As you can see here, this is one of our famous product, our popular product, Kendo UI Grid. And what's interesting is the pop-up that you are seeing is known as the editor pop-up editing edit pop-up. And you don't have to write code to get that pop-up. Basically, our grid, once you put the grid onto the page and say, hey, I want the grid to support editing, but the mode of editing should be pop-up. It automatically brings up this pop-up window with all the columns that have been displayed, and you just have to wire up when a user clicks on update button, where should the data be posted. When a user clicks on edit button, where should the data to be read, all those things, and then you just set a couple of properties, not to read the data or post the data, or when I say delete, which endpoint should be called. So basically it's all about endpoints. So you have CRUD. So what are the endpoints for creating, reading, updating, and deleting? So that's all the grid needs, and the rest of the stuff will be done by the grid. So I'm going to show a demo of that too. So this basically, what I was trying to put up, like complete set of features, all those things. So now let's quickly jump on to, I'm going to show you where you can get the product. So what we would have to do is, of course, this is whatever I'm going to show today, it's a licensed product. So you can go to www.telerik.com. And if you click on products, you will see that there is UI for ASP.NET MVC. So just click on the UI for ASP.NET MVC. and we have the try now. Basically, if you click on try now, we have a 30-day free trial of our control. So you can just download the trial. The trial gives you a 30-day playground, so you can pretty much kind of play around with our controls for 30 days, evaluate it, or try, kind of see if it meets your requirements. If you need extension, you can always write to us, so we'll try to work with you to get you an extension for maybe 10-15 days. So totally you get around 45 days. So just click on the try now. It's going to go ahead and then install something like this. So let me show you what you get on the disk when you download. So it's going to put a folder like this, Kendo UI for ASP.NET MVC, and then it's going to put the version, current version is Q1 2014. So it has created that folder, and then this is what you get. You get the VS extensions, you get the TypeScript bindings, TypeScript for our Kendo UI, and then the wrappers. So remember I talked about ASP.NET MVC wrappers. So these are the wrappers that we give you, binaries. So if we support MVC 3, MVC 4, MVC 5. So there are a couple of ways of working with the Kendo UI. When you use our installer and then install, as you see here, we put an extension onto Visual Studio. We provide a project template, all those things. So let me show you that. So basically, if I start a new Visual Studio, assume that you have downloaded the UI for ASP.NET MVC, and then you have installed it. So now after installation, if you open up your Visual Studio, let me get my Visual Studio. So if you start the Visual Studio and then say File, New Project, in the installed templates, you will see there will be something known as Telerik, and then click on Web. Now you will see Telerik C# MVC Web Application or Telerik VB MVC Web Application. So what I've already done is, okay, let me just go ahead and then do this. So I'm going to select Telerik C# MVC Web Application, and it's going to the default project's location. That's fine. I said okay. So now what you're going to see is it's going to ask some, our project configuration wizard kicks in. So here it detects that UI for ASP.NET MVC is installed and the version is 2014.1. It's available from the installation folder. So I have said I need to add the reference of the assembly to the solution. So it's going to go and then add the reference to that DLL. Then I'm telling I want to target MVC 5. And then view engine is a razor, and then I want the default theme. So as you can see, I talked about different themes. So black, blue opal, bootstrap, default, flat, high contrast, metro, metro black, moonlight, and silver and uniform. So these are the different themes that we provide you out of the box. Do I need to copy editor templates? Yes, as you know, in the ASP.NET MVC, the MVC pipeline will try to look at any editor templates, and then whenever you have an editing screen, it's going to use that editor template. So we ship out of the box close to 10 or so editor templates. For example, we have a control for numeric text box editors. So if there is any editing screen where you have a property whose type is int or decimal or anything, we'll be able to it will automatically show the Kendo UI numeric text box editor. Similarly, if you have anywhere date, so we have a date editor, so it will put a Kendo UI date picker. And you can customize depending on what you need, and then you can create your own editor template. By default, I'm going to say copy it. I don't need a CDN support as of now because I will have all the Kendo UI scripts and then style sheet put into my project itself. And then global resources, for now, I'm not worried about that. Right to left, if you're creating Arabic or anything, so on, you need a right to left support, you can do that. For now, I'm going to just remove the add test project, but it's not advisable. You should always test your ASP.NET MVC. For the demo, I'm going to just uncheck it, and then I can just say next. And it's going to ask you if you want to create an ORM. We have ORM called as Telerik Data Access. For now, I'm going to just skip it. So when I say finish, Visual Studio will go ahead and then start creating the project for us. As you can see, Visual Studio has started spinning the project. It's going to complete it, and then it's going to take a minute or so depending on my system. So let's give it a couple more seconds. I have a GoToMeeting running and it's recording, so my system is running a little bit slow. Or I already have another Visual Studio open up, so I'll just use that to showcase. So let me stop this, which is running. So once you go ahead and then do that file new project and then say okay, so what it's going to do is it will go ahead and then do a couple of things. First thing it's going to do is it's going to go ahead and then add references to the DLLs that we require. As you can see here, we need a DLL called Kendo.MVC. That's the DLL which contains the Kendo UI wrappers for you to work with MVC. And next thing it does is for Kendo, it's all client-side. Kendo UI is a HTML5 based client-side UI framework. So although we are giving you wrappers, the wrappers do nothing but to generate the JavaScript on behalf of you. So we have seen both worlds of programming. Some people are very well versed with JavaScript and they're very comfortable with writing JavaScript. So yes, you can use our Kendo UI in a JavaScript mechanism or JavaScript way of programming. I have seen many other segment of programmers who are like, no, I'm an MVC guy. I need to be in Razor. I don't like to get into the JavaScript to do a couple of things. So that's what we do with the wrappers. The wrappers allow you to be in your Razor syntax, and then you just and we give you a concept of a control. So you just have to say html.kendo.autocomplete, and then you will get the autocomplete control generated for you. Basically, all it does is under the hood in the background generates the JavaScript that is necessary for Kendo UI to be instantiated on the client side. So we need a couple of JavaScripts and then a couple of style sheets. So what it does is in the content folder, it goes ahead and then adds this Kendo style sheets. As you can see here, for the demo purpose, I've placed everything. But if you don't need everything, but your whole site is based on only one theme, then you need only one folders from here and then only one style sheet from here, or two style sheets from here. So we have kendo.common.min.cs. That's the base core style sheet. And after that, we have different names. If you see here, I have kendo.black, kendo.blue opal, kendo.bootstrap, kendo. Let me just drag it down. So we have kendo.flat, high contrast, metro. So these are different themes. So you will need only two of them. One is kendo.common.min.css, and then any of the theme that you need. For the demo purpose, I'm keeping everything so that I can change and then show you how different the control looks different for different themes. Next thing that it does is it goes to the scripts folder and then adds the Kendo script that is required. As you can see here, jQuery.min.js, and then the Kendo. We have kendo.all.min.js, meaning it contains Kendo UI Web, Kendo UI Mobile, Kendo UI Database. So if you want, you can just refer this one. Otherwise, we have modularized the whole of Kendo. As you can see, on a particular page, I just need Kendo button. You can just put kendo.button.min.js. You don't have to load everything. You can save your, you can use require.js and then say, okay, in this page, I just need this to instantiate. So you can pretty much modularize the files that you want to load instead of loading everything. But for the demo purpose, I'm going to be using kendo.all.min.js. And then one more thing it does is it goes ahead and creates the layout file. And let me show you the layout. So in the layout file, all it does is it goes ahead and then puts the references for all the Kendo related style sheets, Kendo related JavaScript. If you see here, it has gone ahead and then added kendo.common, kendo.database, kendo.default, and then kendo.all.js, all those things. And then it's pretty much similar to what your vanilla ASP.NET MVC project will look like, but except that it has added a lot of things. And these are the editor template that I was talking about. If you look at here, this editor template is known as currency.cshtml. So what ASP.NET MVC will do is if there are any editors coming up for editing scenario, and in the editor template, it sees that there is a template defined for a type of decimal, and all we are doing is, if you see the code here, I'm just saying html.kendo. Currency text box for HTML attributes. We have a currency text box wherein it's going to style it and then show dollar sign in front. So like that, we have the date CSHTML, where if there are any properties which are date time, ASP.NET Pipeline will pick up this particular editor template, and all we are doing is we just say date picker for and that particular model property. So like that, we ship around close to 10 of these, like date, time, email address, grid foreign key, integer. If you see integer, we use integer text box for. So basically it has the min, max, everything written up. Then one more thing the project does, it goes to web.config and it adds this namespace, because we need this namespace everywhere. So kendo.mvc.ui, so that when you say HTML dot, you should be able to see Kendo coming up. So that's why the Kendo is available under this namespace. So when you create new project using our file extensions, the file project templates, file new project template, it does automatically all these things. Let's say you are not starting new. This is a very happy scenario wherein file new project, but maybe you are already started with some projects like ASP.MVC3 or MVC4 or MVC5, and you want to integrate Kendo UI into that. Then you would have to manually do all these things. That is, add reference to kendo.mvc.dll, then copy the Kendo style sheet in the content folder or wherever you want. Usually it's kept in content, and then copy the Kendo scripts. Then come back to, and then if you want, you can also copy the templates that I said. If you look at the editor template, so these templates are shipped along with the installer. And then come back to web.config, under system.web pages namespaces, add this namespace called kendo.mvc.ui. So let's see if that is already done. Yes, it is done. So what we're going to do here is, I'm going to just run this now as is. So this is the project we just created. So I'm just saying fi run. So let me get my browser window. So if you see, it's the same vanilla ASP.NET MVC5 project template, but one thing, the extra thing that we do is we add a kind of a Telerik widget here, or the Telerik wrapper here. That's the panel bar. So as you can see here, this is the Kendo UI panel bar, what you see on the bottom. So if I show you the code, so let me open up the index.cshtml. So how did this panel bar come in? So it's very simple. So I'm going to just walk you through this, but I'll delete this and then show you a very simplest thing. So basically, as I said, Kendo, our panel bar is a control. So let me first talk about. Just give me a second. So if you see here, we pretty much support this 70 plus ASP.NET MVC components, and then each the whole suite is divided into different segments. For example, we have controls for data management, so we have grid and list view. We have control for scheduling. For example, we have the calendar control and then scheduler. For layout, we have splitters, tooltips, and then windows. We also have a map. The most popular ones are grid, editor, scheduler, drop-down list, window, date picker, upload, preview. So these are all controls available for you for your ASP.NET MVC application, and you can use them in JavaScript. Or today we're going to be talking about more of the MVC side. So that's where we give you the wrapper. So you just have to, whatever control you see here, you just say kendo.grid dot the control name, for example autocomplete. So you can just say kendo.grid.autocomplete and you will be able to get that control on the page. So I'm going to show each example. So I just wanted to talk about this so that you understand what this is doing. So if you see here, once you have done all the setup, you are in the page, you want to add a panel bar. So how do you add it? html.kendo.panelbar, give it a name. Each control, the name is a required field. If you don't set the name, it won't be able to parse it and then generate the output. So you just go and then say .item. So I'm adding the item. Item has a text. It is selected, true, expanded, true. Content is a text again. So like this. So I'm going to delete all this stuff and then take a simplest of the examples. So now let's say I want to show an autocomplete on the screen. Autocomplete is nothing but it goes ahead and then kind of shows a different sorry about that, just give me a second. So autocomplete, as the name says, you type something and then it automatically completes your whatever you have typed and then goes to the server or the local data store and then tries to match the values that should be shown as part of that. So in order to get the autocomplete working, the first thing that you would have to do is just come in here and say html.kendo. As you can see, we provide you two extension methods. One is a Kendo generic helper, and then another one is I can typecast this to basically saying like I want a widget to work on a particular type. So we will see that when you get to the grid. So for now I'm going to say Kendo. Then I need autocomplete. So if you see here, we give you the autocomplete for as well as autocomplete. So if you have a model and then model has a let's say a enumerable property, you can just say autocomplete for that model dot property and then we will enumerate and then show the autocomplete. But for now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a simple stuff. I say autocomplete. I need to give it a name. So I'm going to say this is a K autocomplete. And I can set a placeholder. Placeholder is the HTML5 feature. So I can just say country. Okay. So now so we already have the page running. So let me refresh this. Okay, it has gone completely top. So what I will do is I'll just introduce a couple of breaks so that it comes a little bit down. And I'm going to add a div just to make sure like you just see. There you go. So what I have now is I have a simple label which is select a country and then I have the control here. Just to give you a perspective, let me go and then just add a input type text. And you will see the difference between the two controls. So as you can see here, the left hand side is a normal input type text box, but whereas this guy is a Kendo UI autocomplete. So it's not doing anything as of now. That's because we have not given it any data. So what I can do is I can pretty much create a simple data here. So I'm going to just use a bunch of so I'll come back here and then I'll create a where countries and I will say new string array, and let me just copy paste couple of country names. So I know it may be bad, but I'm just trying to showcase like you can do a lot cool stuff with this. So I will just say this and then this. So how do I tell autocomplete that it has to use this particular data? So let me increase my font size a little bit so that you guys can see it clearly. So we are done with we have created the data, we have created the control, but we have to tell the control that, hey, you know what, I want you to use this data. So there are a couple of ways. One is I can use bind to and then say, hey, I want you to bind to countries, right? That's all you have to do. You have a enumerable, and then you just say bind to that particular I enumerable. So now I'll come back to my page. Let me remove this particular input type text. So now see what happens. So basically now the page refreshes. Now the page is refreshed. Now I'm going to keep my cursor. Let me keep it in the middle. Maybe it's easier for you guys to see it. So now I can just keep my cursor here and then type A. And what you should see is, it automatically provides me the autocomplete. So I can say ALB, or I can say like, AR. So I get the Armenia, and then I can say AU or AZ. You get the point. So basically what we just created was, this is an autocomplete, which just imagine if you had to do this using other, I haven't played with any other libraries. I think jQuery has a autocomplete syntax, but the point we are trying to kind of emphasize here is, with any other plugins, I know you may have questions like there are other hundreds of free plugins, so why should we take a look at this? So your jQuery plugin does not have anything to do with your MVC server side, right? It's all client side. You have to get into JavaScript. I'm not saying JavaScript is bad, but you as a developer who has been doing a Razor day in and day out now would have to suddenly shift to the JavaScript and then start writing JavaScript. But here, take a look at what we have done. We give you that comfortness of yours, which is Razor syntax, Razor way of coding things. So all you have to do is, it's a fluent API. html.kendo.autocomplete. I'm just chaining, dot name, dot placeholder, dot bind to. I can also say like, filter. So what should it do? Should it do like filter type dot? If you see here, it says contains starts with. So I can control how, when user types a character, what should the code do? Should it search for whatever characters type starts with the items in the collection, or should it contains and then give me that? So different things are available as of now. If you think that, okay, this is bad, I mean, we shouldn't be binding it into we shouldn't be, first of all, creating the data in the view. View should be just for okay, just let me copy this and then we'll get to the controller. So I have this home controller. So here, if you see here in the index, what I can do is, okay, I have to stop because it's debugging. So I can just do the same stuff. So I have included the countries. I put in the new string array, and what I'm going to do is, let me format this, and then I'm going to come in and say, okay, this is countries now. So only thing that I have to change is come back here and then say that the model for this particular page is actually a string array. Okay, and let me collapse this. And of course, it doesn't find this variable called country. So now what I can do is I can just say, hey, bind to the model, right? Now it's basically, so here's the page that comes up now, and then it's going to be the same. There's no change per se. So I'm going to click on yeah, so I'll get the same thing. So now what exactly is happening? So basically I showed you just a bunch of cryptic things maybe, right? HTML, Kendo, autocomplete, .name, .place, .bind to. But what exactly is happening on the client side? So let me show you what we do. If I right click and then look at the view source for this particular page, and go all the way down where we had declared that particular so in this line, if you see here, I had put up K autocomplete as the name of the autocomplete control. So what we do is basically we go and then output the complete JavaScript that is necessary for our control to be instantiated on the client side. So if you see here, I have an input ID K autocomplete, name is autocomplete, type is text, and then look at the jQuery that we write. We go ahead and then create the autocomplete control on the client side. Remember, I gave a string array as the input to the let me show you that. So I just said bind to this model. So what was this model? This model was actually a string array. If you see here, it's actually a string array. So what our wrapper does is it converts that into a client side string array. right? It just converts that into client-side string array. I had set placeholder is country, and that's it. So this is all it is required to kind of create on the client side, the Kendo control. And because of that client-side script that comes out, the Kendo control is possible because Kendo UI, mind you, is completely HTML5 and client-side framework. It understands HTML5, it is HTML5 compliant, and then it's completely client-side. So basically, when I do this, I can actually go ahead and then I'll show you next demo wherein basically what is happening now is, if you look at the code, we are actually pushing the data when the page was requested for. So we can actually cut down this and say, hey, you know what, just go. When the page loads, then you make a call to the server and then get the data. So in the next demo, we're going to be looking at that. So it seems like there is so there's already a question which is countries or smaller list. What if we have a big list like a dictionary of words? So I'm going to show you next one of the grid demos that we will be doing. We will see how we can do an Ajax based call. So basically we support paging also. Here also you can actually say the page size, all those things. So this is a simple example that I gave, but when we go to the grid based examples, I will show you like we can our data source is so powerful that you can pretty much do a paging, and every time a next page is clicked, we will let the control go to the server. You take care of how much data you have to send, what page data you have to send, all those things. So now I'll take the same, since we are here, so I'll show you a couple of other controls. So for example, let's do a calendar. All you need to do is you can just say like @HTML dot Kendo, and I can say dot calendar dot name. I will say this is a kcal, and then I can just set a value. The value will be date time dot now, and that's all it is required. So now if I go to the page and then refresh it, we will see a nice looking calendar coming up. Right, there you go. So as you can see here, this is the calendar. Now here's the interesting thing that I'm going to show you now. Currently I'm using the default theme, but what I can do is I can go to layout.html and then just change one value here. So if you see here, it is using kendo.default.min.cs, right? So one of the things that I like is a metro. So I can do an F5, and the whole control changes its look and feel to look like a metro-ish. If you see here, I get the green color metro-ish things. Let's try maybe flat. This is another thing that I like. We have something called as flat theme. So it's a blue shade. Yeah, this I kind of like this blue shade that comes up. As you can see here, this looks pretty awesome. So if you see here, all the things. So this is how you use themes. So we give you out of the box 7 themes. If you don't like our themes, what you can do is you can go to our site, and then there is something known as theme builder, and then you can use the theme builder to build your custom themes. And then just as you saw, the theme is nothing but a CSS file. So you just instead of using the inbuilt out of the box theme CSS file, you can bring in your custom CSS file. So now this is fine. Let me switch over to another project that I have where I want to show some cool new things. There is a question, can we use multiple themes at a time? Nope. The whole of Kendo works based on the concept that whatever you define here, so that's the theme that particular controls will be using that particular theme. So no, you cannot use multiple themes at a time. So I'm going to just close this out and then bring in my another project which I already have kept it running. So which one is that? Both of them are the same name, so just give me a second. Yeah, this is the one. So it's the same thing that I have. So let me close everything. So here what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to showcase a real world scenario wherein assume that we have a Northwind traders. So Northwind is the famous database that pretty much if you're in .NET you will know Northwind database. So I have the Northwind database in my project. So I have included that Northwind database, and as you can see, I have employees, I have products, I have suppliers. So first we're going to look at employees. So let me show you. So as you can see, employers view is empty, but in the interest of the time, what I've done is I already gone ahead and created an entity framework data context. And if you see here, I have this employees being bound, employees being set as the model of the view, and then the view, the employees itself is nothing but list of employee view model. I always like to, I never expose my data context entities to my views. It's always is like the view model is what should be going to the view. It is always better. Of course, I'm not using a intermediate layer here like a manager or a data access layer. But it is always a good practice that whatever entities that you have, the domain entities that you have as part of your context, never send them, never use them on the views. So for the views, just create a view model, extract out whatever is necessary for the views, and then just use that view model. Of course, I'm doing all the handcrafting of converting one property to another, but you can use libraries like there's a very famous library which basically, AutoMapper. AutoMapper, what it does is it tries to look at a source and a target, and if both of them have the similar property names, it will automatically go and then do a reflection and then bind it, and then so you cut down all these lines of code that I'm writing here. For the demo is fine, but for a production code, always what you should do is you have AutoMapper. AutoMapper will and then say take my domain entity, convert that into the view model, and as long as the view model and the domain entities have the same casing, same property names, it will automatically do the mapping and then give you that newly created view model. So basically, I have the employee view model with a couple of properties. For example, I'm having this reporting manager, managed employee count, meaning how much employees does he manage and who is he reporting to, notes, the title, the employee ID, all those things. And if you look at the what do you call the view itself, I have the models namespace, and then I said the model for this particular page is a list of employee view model. Again, it's a 10 employees that I have, so I'm going to showcase binding directly to that, but we will see an example where we'll do an Ajax based call. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and then say, hey, we have a control called as list view, so it horizontally places every whatever UI you give, it will place it horizontally or vertically and like a running entries. So I'm going to say I want html.kendo and then list view. But this list view, I know what I'm binding to, so I will say this is working on a type called employee view model. The name that I want to give is basically I will say this is kemp list view, and with Kendo list view control, what we need to do is we need to let the list view, okay, what should be the HTML tag it has to use to create this control. So I'm saying, I don't care, just go and use the div tag. And of course, I need to bind this to something. So I will say bind this to the model. And then each item, this is like a list view, right? So the list view is going to enumerate over the list of items. And then each item, I need to tell the control how it should display. So for that, we have this concept called as client template ID, meaning this is going to be a JavaScript template that I'm going to write now. So with the magic of copy paste, I'm going to just paste something so that you don't have to watch me typing. So I'm going to explain you one by one what is happening. So we just created the list view control, and then we told that for each item you should use a template. So what is that template? So if you see here, I've created a template which says script type is equal to text/hex hyphen kendo hyphen tmpl, and then ID is equal to m template. Basically, what we are saying is we want to keep a markup in the in this particular script tag, but I don't want that markup to be parsed by the JavaScript engine of the browser. So what you do is you go ahead and then put something that the browser does not understand, but it is always good to actually say, hey, what kind of template is that? For example, this is a convention that everybody follows in the industry. For example, you would have seen like x-angular template or x-jQuery template. So similarly, we just use x-kendo-tmpl. JavaScript engine comes to this particular line in the page and sees that, oh, I don't understand this type, so I don't think better, I don't touch it. So it's not going to touch any, it's not going to parse this particular block of code at all, and it moves ahead. So here what we have done is I've used the Bootstrap classes here just to make sure that I don't have to write new stylings. So I've created a div, given a ID for that div, and then I'm using bunch of classes here like a well, and then extra small, it should occupy 12 columns. In the medium, it should occupy 4 columns. When it is in the large screen, it should occupy 3. Margin, I have set it. And then here is interesting thing that I want to showcase. Each item of employee view model contains these properties, correct? The employee view model contains all these properties: employee ID, first name, last name, title, notes, reporting manager, managed employee account. So in the template, we give you a templating syntax. So #: can be used to encode whatever is coming out. I can just say equals here also. So equals means it's an unescaped, meaning it doesn't encode anything. So colon is like encoding the data that's coming out. So I'm saying, like, I want to show image of the respective employee. So I'm using employee ID at runtime. So this is a template which is sitting on the browser, and at runtime on the client side, when the data has been fetched or data has been bound to the list view will go and then use this template to create UI on the client side. So this is running. This is going to run on the client side, not in the server. We are just pushing the template, and of course I have a first name. So as you can see here, the first name is there, and then here is something more like first name, last name. I know that it has a title, and I'm just doing some couple of things. So this is wrong. So I was playing around for some things. So, and then I have a notes coming up. So I have this anchor created with the title notes, and then I just say notes. So when you do a mouse over, it will have a nice looking things coming up. So this is the template. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to run this now. So let me bring the browser. So of course I'm going to go to the employees now. I think I have a breakpoint somewhere. Just give me a second. Yeah, I have a breakpoint here. So let me just pass it through. There you go. So I just created, a nice, neat looking kind of an employee card. I'm using Bootstrap. And then the control that you're seeing is actually, this is the Kendo UI list view. So let me show you that. So basically what we did was, okay, let me put this clear fix down. Let me walk through what we just did. So this is a view. The view contains gets the model, which is a list of employee view model. So I go ahead and say html.kendo.list_view. It's going to work on this type. And name, I gave a name for the list view control, and then the tag name, meaning the list view should be created as part of a div tag. And then bind to is a model, and then client template ID is emp-template. So that's what the template we defined here. We are showcasing the first name, last name, title, reporting manager, notes. And if we go to the screen, that's what you see. This is the image. The image was read for, like if I do a properties, you will see like it says content employees 2.png. So that was created through this template here. img src is equal to, like, if you see here employee id.png, alt is first name image. So if I do a mouse over, you will see like it says okay, I'm not sure why the alt is not coming. I think the Bootstrap has kind of gone ahead and then messed up something there. So all these things have been bounded at runtime when when the code was completely pushed to the client side. So if you see now, if I look at the view source, so if you see here, I said tag name is equal to div. So see here, it says div ID is k emp list view. Of course, since we use the static binding, so it has put all the data onto the client side. So I will show you in next demo wherein we could do a JSON based call, like we can do an AJAX call to the server and then get the data. So that's the next demo for the grid. So let me get on to that. So I hope this was kind of easy to understand what's happening here. So we give the data is coming out, there is a template being given, and then the template is rendered as is if you see here. So this is the template, and then that's it. So the whole this particular list view control itself is created on the client side. It is not on the server side. So the wrappers, what the wrapper is doing is this four lines of code, or you can see it as one line of code, is actually spitting out this complete JavaScript for you. You do not have to write this JavaScript. There is another way of using Kendo UI, and that is writing the current JavaScript that you're seeing on your screen. So with MVC wrappers, we shield you from writing all those JavaScript. You just concentrate on your Razor syntax, dot name, dot tag name, dot bind to, dot client template ID. So now let me get to an interesting demo now. So I'm going to show all the products that are there in my database. So let me stop it. So I'm going to use a products controller. As you can see here, in the interest of the time, all I've done is, I've already created a couple of backend coding. So the major coding is, I want this products async action method to be JSON based call, meaning it should be an async, like somebody should be able to ping this as a JSON call from the client side. So I've said it's a JSON result. I'm passing like it's looking for one other thing that we provide you as part of Kendo UI MVC wrappers is this custom model binder. So data source request, whenever you're working with a grid, the grid has a lot of things like grouping, sorting, filtering, paging. So it is going to send a lot of data back to the server side. So instead of you taking care of it, we already created a custom model binder and then a data type, data source request. So if I get inside this, you will see like, this is what things that Kendo grid from the client side will be sending as data to the server side. For example, what page was the current grid was on, what page size does the grid need, and then what are the sort fields if there was a sorting applied, what are the group fields if the grouping was applied, what are the filters that were applied on the grid. So we send back all these things as part of the grid. So we give you a custom model binder. So what you see in the square bracket is telling ASP.NET MVC pipeline that, hey, I have my own data binder, so you don't try to model bind it. So I have my own custom model binder. So whenever you come to this action method, let me know. I will handle the model binding, and then I will convert that into this particular type called data source request. So all I'm doing is I look for a category ID. If there is no category ID, I just go ahead and then pretty much convert that, select the products, convert that into product view model, and then this is another thing that we do. We provide an extension method called toDataSourceResult. Kendo UI grid expects the data to come in a very specific format. For example, it needs to know the total number of records that are there, and it already knows the page size, but it needs the total number of records in the database. So we kind of through this extension, as you can see, the products is still a iQueryable. For that iQueryable, I'm adding an extension. The extension will go ahead add other on top of the iQueryable. It will add other where clauses or all those things, and then build up the data shape that the grid is required, and then it's going to send it. So now we're going to go to the view for this, the products view, and I'm going to explain you what is happening here. So basically, as we have seen so far, I'm not using any models. If you see here, this is just a using statement here. So this is a using statement which says, the namespace here, and then I just say html.kendo.grid, and then I'm telling the grid that, hey, you're going to be working on this particular type, so that it kind of infer a couple of things on its own. For example, if I remove all the columns, since I said this grid is working on the type T, he can automatically enumerate all the columns and then show it on the client side. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say like, use the columns collection, and then this is the lambda expression that we write, and then we say columns.bound, p.product name, unit price, and then all those things. And then all these are all just a single line of things to make the grid groupable, make the grid filterable, make the grid pageable, make the grid sortable. And then somebody was asking, if I have too much of data, binding the static data to the control means we are sending that much of data from the server to the client side. So here I'm showcasing you another interesting aspects that we have. We call it as data source, Kendo UI data source. All you need to say is, hey, I want you to make an Ajax based call. Whenever you have to read data, I want you to hit this action called products async, available on the products controller. Okay, I'm going to put a breakpoint on this products async and save this and run this page now. So what we'll see is when the page loads, we should hit a breakpoint on the products controller. So let me get the US browser. So I'm going to now click on products. Remember, I have a breakpoint on products controller, products async, and we have told the product that it has to load the data in an Ajax manner or make an Ajax call to this particular controller available on this particular action method. So I'm going to click on products now. And there you go. So I have the breakpoint hitting my controller method. Okay, so I'm going to just do an F5. There's nothing, rocket science that is happening here. I'm going to do an F5, and what you saw on the client side was, it did a spinning wheel. So let me remove the breakpoint and then load the page again. So I'm going to do an F5. Well, it was very fast. That's because, maybe let me stop it and then load it again. And I won't put any breakpoint. Then you can see what is happening. So I'm going to, it's going to come up to the, so now I'm going to go to the products. So there was a question which said how to give the page size. So what has happened is, I have not said any page size. I just said this needs to be pageable. So when you say this needs to be pageable, by default, Kendo UI grid is going to set the page size as 10. So if you want a custom page size, you can actually, so the code here which I have, if you see the pageable, so here I can come back here and then create a lambda expression here which says, hey, page dot size. If you see the page sizes here, it says enable true integer array page sizes. So I can just say 5. What did I do? Yeah, I missed a bracket. So what happened? I'll come back to that. So basically, this is how you come back here, and if you see here, we give a lot of page with the configurator is available. You can use all the configuration on that, and then come back. So now we were actually looking at how the products page gets kind of spinning that happens. So the data comes very fast now because the application has been primed up, and then there is nothing doing. One interesting thing to note is I have added the groupable, filterable, pageable, sortable. So if I have to group by company name, I can just drag and drop on this. Or I can do a product name dragging and dropping. Just give me a second. And here is a Excel kind of what do you call the filtering that happens. I can just say product name contains maybe, let's say, NIK, and there you go. So it's able to, I can clear this out, and I can say and of course the paging, it will be doing the paging from the server side, so it's not going to be doing the paging from the client side. For if I have to prove that, so I can just put a breakpoint here, and then I'm going to click on 8th page now. So if you look at the request, it says page that is required is 8th page. The page size is 10. So we push everything onto the server. So now basically the two data source result will act upon this and then get you that particular page that you need. Maybe let me go ahead and say show me any contains let's say OOD. So even for the filtering, it comes to the server side, and then you can pretty much do the filter everything that by yourself. As you can see here, I have now seafood being selected as the category, and then I have two pages. So if I click on second page, if I look at the request, it will say there is one filter applied, and that is, converter value is OOD, member name is category name, and then operator is contains. And then of course the page size that I need is 2, the page I need is 2, and then page size is 10. So basically we let you do everything. You take care of how you want to do page, how you want to do filter, how you want to do the sorting, everything. So I can just come back here and then clear the, let me remove this breakpoint, sorry about that. And I can do a sorting also. I can say I removed it, hang on. So if you see here now, the sorting is also happening, and the paging is also happening. The page size can be set to different page sizes if you want, all those things. Well, somebody is asking how to sort page using ascending. So basically it automatically does. So if you want to take care of ascending by yourself, you just have to put the logic here. Instead of letting Kendo's extension doing the ascending, you would have to write your own query here to make sure that the ascending happens or the descending happens. By default, Kendo takes care of it. Like for example, now it is sorted ascendingly, and then now it's sorted descending. So if you see here category names, it is coming as different. So I can do this thing. So I can go to the first page. When I sort by ascending, you can see B is coming on top, or maybe we'll take the unit price. As you can see, unit price is now 2.5, and I get 263 as because it is now descending. So it automatically does. You do not have to do anything there. One thing to note is I have not written a list or anything. So this is until this line, everything is iQueryable. So that's why our the extension that we have is able to act on top of the iQueryable. If you create a list by this line itself, that means you have executed select star on your database, and then if you provide our extension, it's of no use. So you need to make sure you give an iQueryable so that we can work on the iQueryable. The way iQueryable works is it is not going to execute the query unless somebody is actually requesting the data for. So here I am just building up the query, so I am not requesting the data. So the data is requested only here in this line. When the extension acts upon it, that's when it does. So this is nothing new. It's all part of the MVC, or it's all part of the link that you would need to understand. So next what I need to what I want to show is I want to show this suppliers tab. I already created this particular demo. In the interest of the time, I already am at the 1 hour mark. I want to spend some time on the Q&A. So what I've done is I've already gone ahead and then created this suppliers page. So suppliers controller contains all the asynchronous calls that we need. For example, in order to read the supplier list, I've created a JSON result action. So again, I'm going to my suppliers, and I'm selecting the supplier view model, and then I send the JSON out for this suppliers with this suppliers view model. And then similarly, I also have all the other methods like create. This is used to create a new supplier. Update, this is used to update a supplier. And this to delete. So of course I have not deleted anything, just to prove the point that the control will be passed on to the action method. And if I look at the view for the suppliers, so this again we start out with the same Kendo grid name I give a grid name. Oh, I missed to showcase one particular thing on the product. So let's say we were looking at the products table, right? So in the products table, each product has a its own image. So how should I show the image? Because when I do bound column, let me show you the products view. So if you see here, we had a bound columns created, meaning that's all it can be. I say columns.bound p.pre product name, and it automatically will just create a label and then show it. But I don't want that. I want to showcase an image. So how to do that? So what we can do is we can come back here and then say bound. I would still like to bind it to the product ID, but what I will do is I will say client template, and I will write a template for it. Okay, the template is pretty simple. Okay, let me take it to this line. So the template is pretty simple. I know I need to showcase an image. So what I will do is, in the interest of the time for you not looking at me typing, I have it already created. I'll explain what the template is. So you can create any string templating for the column. So what I have done is I have said, hey, for the product ID, I want to create a client template. In the client template, I want to place an image whose width is 60 and width and height is 60. It should use a bootstrap CSS class called as image circle. And then in the source, what I'm doing is, again, I'm using this template syntax. If you see here, I just said #product ID.jpg. So now if I save this and I come back to the screen, so this is the product screen. There you go. So on the first column it says product ID, but we can come back here and then say like, hey, you know what? This should have a title and just call it as product image. Okay, so now let me come back here and do an F5. So there you go. So now it says the column name is product image, and I have the product, beautifully looking product image coming up. So I can kind of templatize my client side columns. If you see here, I'm going through different pages, and then I'm able to see all the images. So this is one other way wherein you can define the columns like a client template. So now coming back to the sublayers, I was showcasing sublayers. So if you look at the sublayers grid, it's pretty similar. I have company name and all the things lined up. So I have the bound columns for pretty much everything. One thing to notice here is we have something called as command columns. So typically the command columns are editing, destroying, all those things. So we have this command called edit, command called destroy. So that's all you have to do. You are not writing, mind you, so far what I was shown you, you're not writing code. Rather, you are just setting the settings of the control. I want it like this. So basically what I have done is I said I want an edit and destroy. And then in order to make the grid editable, you would have to just say editable. But in this case, what I've said is the mode in which I want to edit is pop-up. So we have 3 different ways of editing: in cell, inline, pop-up. So in cell is when you click on a particular cell, that cell turns itself into an editing UI. Whereas inline is wherever I click in a row, the whole row becomes editable. I like pop-up editing, so I've provided the pop-up here. And then this is how we read data asynchronously. You just set up a data source and say, hey, this is Ajax based calls that it has to make. So it will make an $.ajax calls under the hood. But I'm not writing any code to make that call. Rather, I'm just setting, or I'm just telling the data source that I want you to make the call asynchronously using Ajax. So I said the page size and the data source. So what data source will do is it will send the page size to the server side. In the server side, our extension takes care of that. Since we are now enabling editing, we need to tell Kendo UI grid on the client side that, hey, in this row, this column is the primary key. So that's what you see here as a model. And I'm just said model.id is equal to supplier ID. So in every row on the client side, there is particular column called a supplier ID, and that is a primary key. And then where should it read? You just said we just say like read from this particular action method in this controller. While you are creating, I want you to push or post the data to this particular action method on this controller. When you are editing, I want you to put that particular data onto this action method and at this particular controller. So that's all you need to say. And now when I do refresh this page, you will see that last column we get this edit and delete button. So if I click on edit button, there you go. I have a pop-up, beautifully looking pop-up which comes up, and you can now go ahead and then edit it. So I can pretty much do an let me just to prove a point that this does work. I'm going to put a breakpoint in update, and in the contact title I will say manager, and I will say an update. So now if I look at the data binding, the modeling model binder would have converted whatever came into this particular thing, and then you can see here that contact title has been it has got the data manager, and that is what I entered in the client side, right? So I can just do an F5 now, and it would have gone ahead and then done that. So I have not included a button for adding a new row, but it is as simple as adding a toolbar to the grid, and then in the toolbar you can say add a new row, add a new item to the grid. So this is edit, and I can click on the delete, so it will actually go to the, and you can see we have automatically the pop-up, the JavaScript pop-up that we show, are you sure you want to delete this record? So I'm going to say cancel. So if I put a breakpoint in the delete, you will see that when I say yes, yeah, I want to delete, you will see that data is coming to this, and then we would have sent that particular supplier which was kind of clicked on for deletion. So here in this case I'm not deleting anything, I'm going to send the same thing back. So it would have been removed from the thing. So this is pretty much what I had in mind to just to showcase how you can speed up. I think in the whole of the demos that I showcased, 3 or 4 demos that we did, or 5 demos that we did today, you never wrote any code. You just use the control and set some settings, and then you are able to create your ASP.NET and MVC apps much faster than you would have to handcraft it by by yourself. So that's all we have for today. We wanted to give you a heads up on what is UI for ASP.NET MVC from Telerik. If somebody asks you, just tell that UI for ASP.NET MVC is nothing but an HTML. It's a MVC wrapper or a MVC helper, and they have 70 plus helpers. Each control is a helper for you as a developer, and then we have 70 plus control out of the box. I showcased a couple of controls. One is the list view that you're seeing, and then another one was a famous grid. If you want to play around, what you can do is you can go to demos.telerik.com and then just say ASP.NET MVC. And this is the page where we give you complete ASP.NET MVC related controls. And not only that, we have the wrappers available for even data visualization. I didn't have time to actually showcase that particular thing, but what you're seeing here is a HTML5 compliant graph or a chart. It uses scalable vector graphics, meaning if I increase my page size, you will notice that the graphic doesn't deteriorate. It maintains its crispiness. That's because this is not an image, it's not a JPEG, it's not a PNG. Rather, this is a scalable vector graphic. If there is a website where a browser who doesn't support the HTML5, we go ahead and then put the vector markup language, the VML, as they call it. So we split the VML, and VML is understood by everybody. If there is a browser which is HTML5, which is good, we spit out the SVG, and the way you use it is very simple. Similarly, the way we used all the controls so far, like if you can see here, HTML Kendo.chart. So okay, this is the ASPX version of it. So let me show you the CS-HTML. Yeah, as you can see here, HTML.Kendo.chart. Give it a name for the chart. Here is the title for the chart. The legend. Where do I want to place the legend? And then chart area is background transparent. Series defaults. I want a line series. And here are the series. So this is all you need to do. Series.area, give the double value or whatever, category access to be defined, value access to be defined, and then do a tooltip, and then that's what you get. We also can bind directly to the remote data, meaning when the chart loads, it will make an asynchronous call to your endpoints, and then it can do it. So if you see here, it's a similar. We have this data source concept, and Sorry about that. And if you see here in the data source, what we are seeing is read the data from this action available on this controller. That's all you have to do. And whenever you're creating a series, you can say, hey, this particular series should be bound to this particular property on the data that's bound to this particular chart. So everything can be done as a wrapper. It's pretty simple. It speeds up your development time because you don't have to worry about the JavaScript. We will take care of the JavaScript that needs to be written. Not only that, each of the controls that I showcased today have a rich client-side API. It's not that it's a server-side. As I said earlier, mind that Kendo UI is the underlying, the framework that is being used here, and Kendo kind of lives on the client side, on the browser. So we have a rich API available. Each control can be programmed on the client side at runtime. If, for example, for a button click, I want to do something on the control. Yes, you can do, and you can kind of go ahead, grab the control, set its data source, or anything that you want to do. You can pretty much look at that. If you want to try out, what you can do is you can just download. As you can see here, try now button is available, so you can just go and then click on try now. We give you a 30 days free trial. If any of your team would like to know more about this particular controls suite, so what you can do is you can just write back to us. I'm going to flash my just give me a second. I'm trying to bring up my coordinates. So I'm just putting my email address. So if any of your team or any of you would like to know more and you want some information from our side, don't hesitate to contact us. So this is my email ID. I'm in Bangalore. If you have a big team and then you would like us to come down and then kind of give you a one-on-one, 1 hour demo, I would be able to do it. I'm in Bangalore, so I can just, if you guys are in Bangalore, I will be able to just come down to your organization.